My name's Bruce McCarthy. I'm part of the Wonwabinda Cluster Association, which is a group of adjoining properties at Wonwabinda. We're about 65 k's east of Armidale in the high country. In recent years, the number of wild dogs that has been frequenting this area has increased dramatically. A few years ago, those properties that were still running sheep started to experience very significant losses, and got to the point where sheep had to be moved out.
We ran sheep on this block, and it got to a point that we were virtually eaten out. We just couldn't run them anymore. There was too many deaths, and we've tried baiting and everything else, and we had to look at alternatives.
Where was the dog that
In that
the trap?
in that dry hole which poses a dam at the top of Mount Harry. All of us inside the fence have wool sheds, an indication that years ago we were in both the sheep business and the cattle business.
In the long term, we wanted to run sheep up here. So in the back of our minds, we were thinking about exclusion fencing. And then the proposal came from one of the local growers here as whether we were interested in joining the cluster, and we jumped at the opportunity. It gave us the opportunity to be diverse in the enterprises we're running here, so we could move into sheep, which is ultimately where we wanted to get in the long run.
Well, for us, it seemed like a mammoth job. It's about approximately 65 kilometres around the boundaries of the 7 properties. We have close post spacing because of the nature of the country.
We've got some very rough country. We're on volcanic country here, so it's a lot up and down. It's very steep. Virtually a dozer has a trouble getting up through them. These sort of fences only being mainly built out flat country in Queensland, so this was the first fence that's been put up in a very steep undulating country.
Embarking on a cluster fence or a big exclusion fence in this part of the world has never been done before, so there's a lot of unknowns. We looked at several different styles and several different manufacturers. We ended up going with the Waratah fence purely because it was well manufactured. It was manufactured locally. We believe it had the most longevity. Looking at the wires, they were coated. The posts we ended up going with were a latch post, good thick posts, some maxi posts, and we believe that we'll get a lot of life out of it, and it's a big, strong, sturdy fence.
Well, even paying by the metre, being able to negotiate a rate where you're using this type of design, I can guarantee that the rate would have been quite different had the contractor needed to run carrier wires and tie this mesh on at all points. That is a lot of work. We started in April last year, and I think the last section of fence around Doughboy Mountain was finished in about October, November of last year.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I'd look at it from the perspective that some of the input costs we put into farming, say fertilisers, pastures, those sort of things, we're spending considerable amounts a hectare, and that's on an annual basis. So I think for this fence to put it up, it cost us about $100 a hectare per area covered. Now, while it's a significant capital expense at the start, but if you spread that across the area protected, really you could almost look at it as an annual input cost, but only a one-off, and if you can spread that over the life of the fence, it becomes pretty cheap. The key thing for us is we haven't got all our eggs in one basket, so being able to run sheep and cattle just takes away some of that risk.
We worked with the Wonwabinda Cluster Fence Association to put up about 64 kilometres of fence and give or take about 10,000 hectares of land inside the fence. So we're obviously hoping that businesses, it just gives them the opportunity with the cluster fence to be able to diversify their agricultural interests. So, you know, inside the cluster, I believe there's only 2 entities currently running sheep, but you know, this will hopefully give them the option to go back to running sheep if they wanted to. Most of them had stopped running sheep because of the issues, and that leads to, I think, a good outcome for community, because it enables the community to be able to leverage jobs and, you know, community wealth out of that scenario.
This December there'll be 1,000 first cross lambs coming up here from home, which we're excited about. The country's good heavy basalt, great pastures, while it's a little bit dry at the moment. That should change in the spring, and we're looking forward to seeing some significant weight gains on some first cross lambs for a trial first off, so we'll see how that goes.